Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into something that's, well, it's just completely woven into our daily lives, isn't it? Technology. I mean, think about the smartphones in our pockets, global communication, medical breakthroughs. It's really been a cornerstone of human progress, made so much possible. But for all that brilliance, there's definitely a shadow, a long one. Our mission today is to pull back the curtain on some critical risks, things that maybe don't get talked about enough. The dark side, if you will, because if we don't address it, it could reshape our future in some, well, pretty unsettling ways.
That's exactly right. And our sources for this deep dive, they really map out a landscape of these concerns that's comprehensive and honestly sometimes quite startling. We're not just scratching the surface here. We're going deep into how personal privacy is being systematically eroded, and the impact on mental health, that's huge too. Then there's economic divides, how warfare is changing, and even the environmental footprint, which is often hidden.
Yeah, that environmental part surprised me. So by the end of this, you're going to have a shortcut to being really well informed on these issues. We've dug up some genuinely surprising facts, insights that'll help you understand the dangers. They're multifaceted, often interconnected. So let's dive right in. Okay, first up, privacy. Let's try to unpack this a bit. How much of our personal data is really private anymore? You hear about data breaches constantly, but I suspect the real story is maybe more subtle, more pervasive.
It absolutely is. Our sources make it really clear. It's not just about those big splashy breaches. It's that every single click, every search you make online, it's meticulously recorded, analyzed. They build these incredibly detailed profiles of you.
Right, for advertising mostly.
Well, yes, but it's more than that. What's truly insidious isn't just that this data gets sold to advertisers, governments, data brokers. It's how the predictive models built from it can preemptively narrow your choices, nudge your behavior, even subtly influence political outcomes. And often you don't even realize your autonomy is kind of being chipped away. It's like this quiet digital puppetry.
Wow. Digital puppetry, that's a strong image.
And then look at the government and corporate side. Advanced surveillance tech is just everywhere now. We're talking facial recognition, GPS tracking, biometric systems deployed at scale.
Justified for security, usually.
Exactly. That's the justification. But the insight here is how these create infrastructures for potential abuse, for authoritarian control. It's an incremental loss of civil liberties, fundamentally changing that balance between individual freedom and state power.
You know, looking at this, what really jumped out at me was how deeply technology seems to be, rewiring our brains, our behaviors. So let's talk about that personal impact. How is technology reshaping how we think, feel, behave? Often, it seems, in detrimental ways.
It's a profound shift, definitely. And the research is becoming, well, undeniable. It goes beyond the stuff we often hear about, like constant comparison or cyberbullying, though those are serious. Our sources really highlight how these digital platforms are designed. They're designed to be profoundly addictive.
How so? Like intentionally?
Yes, intentionally. They use psychological tricks honed by things like slot machines, variable rewards, infinite scrolls. These things specifically target our dopamine pathways. It actually rewires our brains faster than we realize. Makes real-world satisfaction feel almost mundane in comparison. And that contributes to rising rates of depression, anxiety, loneliness. Especially, we see it in young adults.
That's really concerning.
It is. And these platforms, their algorithms aren't just showing you content. They're optimized for engagement above everything else. This relentless push for our attention, it can lead straight to screen addiction. It fundamentally disrupts sleep patterns, erodes productivity, and critically, it diminishes the quality and even the quantity of our real-world relationships. It's a subtle erosion of our ability to connect authentically.
Pretty sobering stuff. And that connects to livelihoods too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So what does all this mean for the structure of our economy and, for our wallets?
That's a critical question. Automation, AI, robotics, they're undeniably boosting efficiency, revolutionizing industries. That's true. But the key insight from our sources is the speed and the scale at which they're displacing workers.
It's not just factories anymore, is it?
Not at all. We're seeing algorithms take on tasks previously done by truck drivers, customer service reps, even professionals, lawyers, journalists. The pace means millions are facing this urgent need to reskill, often without enough support.
And who benefits from all this efficiency?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. The financial benefits tend to concentrate among a very small number of large corporations and wealthy individuals. So it's not just about economic growth overall. It's about this widening economic gap, rich and poor. And that's exacerbating existing social tensions, fueling economic instability on a scale we haven't really seen in generations. It fundamentally challenges, the equitable distribution of opportunity.
Okay, so if we link this back to the systems themselves, our society's increasing reliance on these complex digital systems, that must create some serious vulnerabilities, right? What happens when they falter? Or worse, when they're actively attacked?
That's the chilling reality of cybercrime today. It's not just, say, identity theft, though that costs individuals billions every year. That's bad enough. The more profound threat is the growing sophistication. State-sponsored hackers, criminal syndicates, they can steal intellectual property, compromise national security, even disrupt entire economies.
And our basic infrastructure.
Yeah.
Power grids, hospitals.
Exactly. That's what's truly concerning the fragility. We've seen specific examples. Ransomware attacks, crippling city governments, healthcare facilities held hostage digitally, even parts of the energy grid shut down. These incidents really illustrate vividly how dependent we are on these, frankly, vulnerable digital systems. Essential services can just screech to a halt, impacting millions, undermining national security with just a few lines of code.
Wow. This raises another huge question, one I think we all grapple with daily. How do we figure out what's true? Especially in an age with so much information, often conflicting, sometimes deliberately weaponized.
It's genuinely one of the most significant challenges of our time. Social media platforms, they connect us, sure, but they've also become incredibly potent tools for spreading false information, propaganda, conspiracy theories.
And the algorithms play a role.
A huge role. The core insight here is that the algorithms driving these platforms, they're designed to amplify content that provokes strong emotional reactions. Anger, fear, excitement. Doesn't matter if it's accurate. Sensational or misleading stuff often spreads further and faster than verified facts. It effectively kind of rewires our collective sense of truth.
That has real consequences.
Absolutely. This relentless barrage of misinformation has fundamentally eroded trust. In traditional media, scientific institutions, even the democratic process itself, we saw the deadly consequences during the COVID-19 pandemic, didn't we? False claims about vaccines led to preventable deaths. Beyond health, this erosion of trust undermines elections, deepens social divisions, makes constructive dialogue almost impossible. It threatens the very foundations of civil society.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. It's easy to think of digital tech as clean, right? No smokestacks. But what about the hidden environmental costs? This is something we rarely talk about, and it seems far more significant than most people realize.
It's a crucial oversight, definitely. Think about the whole life cycle of electronic devices, from mining rare earth minerals to manufacturing and then eventual disposal. It creates a massive problem. E-waste.
All those old phones and laptops.
Exactly. Our sources highlight the sheer volume. Discarded gadgets filled with toxic stuff, lead, mercury, cadmium. And where does it often end up? Landfills in developing countries, leaching harmful substances into the soil, the water, creating long-term environmental damage and severe health problems for local people.
That's awful. And what about the energy use?
Right. Consider the enormous and constantly growing electricity demand. Data centers, cryptocurrency mining, just our constant digital activity.
Billions of devices, all plugged in or charging.
Precisely. And while there are efforts to move to renewable energy, a significant chunk still relies on fossil fuels. So the deeper insight here is that the global energy footprint of our digital lives is just expanding relentlessly, contributing directly to climate change, broader pollution. It underscores technology's very tangible, often overlooked environmental impact.
What's fascinating in a different way is how technology has just completely transformed conflict, warfare. It's moving us into territory that honestly feels like science fiction sometimes.
It truly has. We're seeing drones, increasingly sophisticated autonomous weapons, cyber warfare. It's fundamentally reshaped the battlefield. Conflict can now be more remote, but paradoxically also far more devastating, and with potentially less human accountability.
How so?
Well, for instance, cyber attacks can now shut down entire power grids, sabotage critical infrastructure from thousands of miles away. It's effectively delivering a kinetic blow, a real-world impact without a single bullet being fired.
And the AI involvement.
Yes, there's a growing and very serious concern about artificial intelligence being integrated into lethal autonomous weapons systems, laws they call them. These are systems where machines could potentially make life and death decisions without any human input.
That sounds problematic.
It raises incredibly serious ethical questions. about accountability in future wars, about the very concept of warfare when it's waged by algorithms, not humans. It really pushes the boundaries of what we consider acceptable in conflict.
Thinking about more everyday impacts. Could our increasing reliance on technology actually be diminishing some of our essential human skills? It seems counterintuitive, maybe, but our sources point to some compelling examples of this, like a silent erosion.
They absolutely do. And it's not just about, say, losing the ability to read a physical map because we always use GPS. Over-reliance on tools like GPS navigation can actually diminish our innate cognitive mapping abilities, our spatial reasoning.
Interesting. What else?
Similarly, spell checkers, grammar tools, they're convenient, sure, but they can subtly erode our foundational language skills. Calculators have, for many people, fundamentally diminished basic mathematical fluency, things we used to just know.
So what's the bigger danger there?
The broader danger is that this overdependence can make people less self-sufficient, less resilient. The insight here is that if there are system failures, widespread outages, maybe even just a dead battery, many people would genuinely struggle to perform tasks that were once basic, essential for daily life. It leaves us more vulnerable, really, as a society.
There's also this paradox, isn't there? Technology connects us across vast distances, but ironically, it can also pull us apart, contribute to social fragmentation.
It is a paradox, and it's a critical issue. Online platforms very often create these echo chambers, places where you're primarily exposed only to opinions and information you already agree with.
So you just hear what you want to hear.
Essentially. And it's not just personal preference, it's the algorithms actively filtering out dissenting views. This leads to increased polarization, a noticeable decrease in tolerance for different viewpoints. It makes constructive dialogue incredibly difficult.
And a lack of face-to-face.
Right. The increasing lack of genuine face-to-face interaction in our increasingly digital world, that's contributed to a decline in empathy. When communication is mediated through screens, people are often more likely to dehumanize others. You don't see the person, just the text. This can lead to increased hostility, online trolling, and tragically, in some extreme cases, it can even incite real-world violence. The very tools meant to connect us can, sometimes inadvertently, isolate and divide.
Okay, finally, let's look at the really big, thorny questions technology poses. For our values, our moral frameworks. This really goes to the core of what it means to be human in this rapidly evolving technological world.
This is perhaps the most profound concern, actually. Technological advances often outpace our ethical considerations. They create this complex moral landscape we're trying to navigate. Consider gene editing, like CRISPR. Incredible potential for curing genetic diseases, absolutely, but it also raises serious